Hello punters and welcome back to another Saturday racing preview. Of course, in this video looking at the Caulfield meeting on Saturday, obviously Sir John Monash Stakes Day at Group 3 level. So really looking forward to that. Some really good racing to be returning back over these concluding weeks of July. And then obviously right into the Spring Carnival, which we're really looking forward to. So really keen to get into it. See plenty of horses that are starting to return to the track that we know will be there or thereabouts in the main race days in spring. So really good time to sort of be watching on and finding, obviously, as we always do, find plenty of winners, but also be building ourselves a little bit of a black book ahead of spring. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe down below. If you want to see more of this, I'll be uploading every single week. Obviously, getting myself your new guys Saturday previews of all the runners across both Caulfield and obviously this week we're looking also at Rose Hill, and obviously weeks to come as well. I've done the likes of the South Australian Racing Carnival, the Queensland Racing Carnivals, and I'll be doing WA Racing Carnivals. So plenty to look forward to. Obviously, coming into spring, I'll be just looking at the main Victorian and New South Wales meetings, which feature on the day. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here today. Obviously, go straight into the Caulfield meeting. We're looking at on the weekend. The rail's out 12 metres, so really interesting to see that. The current track ratings are a soft 6 as well. So at this stage, I'd suggest we probably will be playing in the soft range. I don't see too much heavy rain in terms of making the track become a downgrade down to the heavy surface, and I don't see it drying out much either to get into the good surface. So I'm pretty confident we'll be playing with a soft track tomorrow. Rails out 12 metres, so we'll be obviously seeing how that plays out on the day. Looking at the first race on the program at Caulfield, it's a 1400 metre Ned's Price Boost multi-handicap, obviously kicking off at 11:50, so make sure you're ready to go nice and early in the morning, as I'm sure we all are by now. We've had plenty of weeks where we've had these early starts. I personally love the early starts. I'm not sure about you guys, but I think it's great. The sooner we can get the racing action, the better, I say, on a Saturday. So look at the first race. I'd say Winamble and Danks will be getting forward up towards the pace with Navarez. I'd say, Narvaez will be right up there on speed as well. The Fallon who likes to get towards the pace as well as confrontational. So could be good of a bit of a speed battle here early. And look, I really do think that Narvaez has the best form here, and I think $5.50 is a really good price. It comes out from last start where it finished 7th at Cherry Tortoni. Obviously, that was last week at Flemington. Before that, though, was in some good form. It beat Galactic Fury, but Bendigo the start prior. And just think if this horse can be either on speed or just in behind the speed, it should be able to get the perfect run of the race and be able to come into it nicely. I think $5.50 is a really good price about it. See, that horse goes on top for me. Ahead of number 3, Efflorescence, who was always promised a bit, and he really showed out last time out at Ballarat on the synthetic surface. He was terrific. He won that race with a lot of ease, and he beat a horse called Fox Gossip, who then came out yesterday and won really impressively at Sale as well. So the form was stacked up behind Efflorescence. Obviously, prior to that, had a couple of fourths behind Rock the Ring, has been going around pretty nicely and free to move. And then prior to that, Crosshaven and restarted. So yeah, the form around Efflorescence have been pretty good, and it was good to see it put it all together last start and win impressively. So that horse goes in for second for me. If a third, I've got to have, number 1, the Fallon goes in. And just because I thought I was so impressed with its first up win at Racing.com Park, obviously packing on the synthetic surface. I thought that was a really good win. Showed, got through the line nicely. I think it has plenty of upside and can improve off of that. Michael Rod in the saddle as well. Just has to navigate barrier number 8, but I suggest you probably take it back in the field, look to roll it into the race off what looks to be a pretty genuine tempo on the speed map. And then in for fourth, I've got number 5, Confrontation. I thought it was well over the odds here. This horse finished third last time out at Bendigo behind Narvaez, and gets a bit of a weight swing here. Goes from 60.5 down to 60. Meanwhile, Narvaez on that occasion, when it won, carried 60 and goes up to 60.5. So yeah, not a massive weight swing between them, only a kilo, but I think Confrontation is a bit over the odds here, because prior to that, it finished second at Mornington to Twain's Express. Now, interestingly, if we have a look at Winamble, who's sitting at 440, it finished third. So Confrontation actually beat Winamble home on that occasion, and Confrontation actually gets the weight swing on that race there as well. So I don't have Winamble in the top 4 because I just think it's way too short. I know Matt Laurie's been flying, as has Ben Mallam in the saddle for him, but I just think this horse is a little bit over the odds based on the form, considering that I think Confrontational can run a much better race at the $8.50. But recap the numbers for me, I do think Nevaez is the one to beat, so it goes on top for me. Ahead of number 1, the Fallon. Number 3, Efflorescence if for second. If for third, number 1, the Fallon. And if for fourth, I've got number 5, Confrontational. Moving on into race number 2 now, and it's the Take It to the Neds level race number 2, benchmark 90 over 1100 metres. Look at the speed map here for this race. I'd suggest that all over Bossa Nova, Lady Loft will probably be up towards the pace. Our Campana will probably sit just in behind them, as well as She's a Thief, who we're looking to potentially maybe roll forward. I don't think it is going to be able to find the speed from Arrows. It might find itself trapped 3 wide. So I'd suggest that probably the smart thing to do is be dropping behind them, get that sort of 1 out, 1 back cover, as they like to call it in harness racing. So I think if you can just get back in behind the speed with a bit of cover, it should be able to run a nice race. And I think it'll be hard to beat again. I think A50 had a horse who was a really good last start winner here at the track at Caulfield. I think there's got to be a nice price to take. I know it went all the way there and won nicely. River Jewel it beat on that occasion. Ran okay last week off the 7-day backup. Didn't run too badly, so I think that form's okay. And I just think that she just gets the perfect run of the race, and she's going to be able to just roll off the speed, get past them. To be honest, I just think that's how it's going to play out. So She's a Thief goes on top for me. I think $8.50 is a really good price to take. And number 3, Our Campana, is equally going to get a really good running behind the speed. Obviously, she's first up, and really excited to see how she goes on this preparation. She showed a bit last obviously early in the year in January. She was won a couple of nice races, as well as finishing behind a few good types. Obviously, her latest start was a 4th before she went out on spell, and she finished by Newsgirl and Also Hazy there. So pretty good form race there. And I think she can come into this and run a bit of a bold race first up. She's obviously well tried on a soft track as well, which is very beneficial. So she goes in for second. In for third, number 6, Propel, who I think has got a good chance to improve off its first up 4th at Caulfield, behind Alpha Oro and Sansom. I think that's good form to bring into this. Obviously, Alpha Oro absolutely flying. The only concern with me about Propel is that this horse isn't really well tried on a soft surface. Now, that last start 4th was an improvement, but this horse that hasn't won on a soft surface before, so it's going to have to, I guess, do it for me first before I can go into it, especially at $4. It's a bit short for me to be wanting to play, but I do think it'll be right in the finish, and so I've got it in my top 3. And then number 9, Sword of Mercy, is the other one that I've got in there, who has just been in great form recently. The last start performance at Sandown the Hillside track was terrific. It beat a horse called Elite Legacy on that occasion, who came out at sale yesterday and won again. So subsequent form has been really, really good. And it's a horse that's well tried on a soft surface. It's had 4 starts for a win and 2 placings. So you can definitely take Sword of Mercy with a lot of trust. I think this horse can run a really bold race. Doesn't really know how to not run a good race, especially its last sort of few starts. It obviously has won twice since resuming from a spell, and prior to that ran twice as well in a 3rd and a 1st. So she's a very nice horse out of Sebring, and I think she'll run a good race once again at the $5.50, especially $2 a place. Good each way value there. Like I said, I've got her in for 4th, but I do think she can definitely finish top 3 as well. The other horse I want to make a bit of a mention of, who I think will run a good race, is Miss Iano, who comes back from a 7th last start at Caulfield. A bit of disappointing performance there by an Alpha Oro, but she was never really able to come on from the back end, as was the pattern of the day. Now, look, with the rail bet at 12 metres, I'm sort of playing around the fact that I do think it'll be on pace dominated again. So in that occasion, Miss Iano doesn't go in my top 4, but if she can produce the sort of performance that saw her finish 4th behind Morrissey and Ashlaw at Mooney Valley, I think she can run a real bold race. So she's a chance at the $10 as well. But recap the numbers for me. I've got number 5, She's a Thief, on top. In for second, I've got number 3, Our Campana. In for third, number 6, Propel. And in for fourth, number 9, Sword of Mercy. Moving on to race number 3 on the program now, and we've got a 1400 metre Neds bet back, benchmark 78. Look at the speed map for this race here. I'd suggest that Falls will probably go towards the pace with Elite Drake and Sonnery. Sonnery will definitely be up on the speed. I'd say Sunderland will try and roll forward off that barrier number 20. Very tricky barrier for Ben Melham to navigate for Matt Laurie. Silent Command will probably be up towards the pace as well. But look, for a 1400 metre race, not too much speed going on early. So I think we'll just get a nice, soft, genuine tempo potentially. But look, for me, I'm going to go with one of the horses that will be up towards the pace. I think it's well over the odds as well. Number 19, Falls. I thought, look, I'm going to forgive the first up performance at Sandown where it finished 9th. It was beaten by Wild Gem and Hayington Station on that occasion. Now, it does meet Wild Gem here, and interestingly, Wild Gem goes around $26, which I also think it's well over the odds. So there's a little bit of a hint of what I've got to come. That horse will be going in my top three. But look, Fall's got to go in for me. Really good second up record. So 2 starts for 2 wins. I think it's going to be a perfect running behind the pace. It doesn't look to be a real solid tempo. Like I said, the rail at 12 metres, I think it might play towards the leaders anyway. So Falls will be right up there and be right in the finish. I think it's a horse that handles the wet tracks. So I think this horse can run well coming back from a heavy onto a soft track. Last time it did get on a soft track at 1 at Sandown the Hillside back in February. So look, I think we can see improvement from this gelding, and I think he'll run a good race. And I think $16 well over the odds, so he goes on top for me. You have number 17, Street Tough, who will run a good race if it gets in. Obviously, at the moment, first emergency, but this horse will obviously roll up off the inside barrier, get towards the pace. Probably try and do something similar to Falls, either sit just in behind, or because you probably won't want to. I think John McNeil won't want to let Will Price roll across him on Falls, otherwise he'll be stuck in a tricky position. So could potentially see it boot up and potentially go towards the pace, or just sort of sit midfield, not far behind on the fence, and hope for a bit of luck. And but this horse is also in good form, and is really well proven on a wet track. 7 starts on a soft track for 3 wins and 2 placings. Been in terrific form as of late. So if you want to go an each way play, it's a really good option at the 350 the place and $11 a win, because it's a horse that finished 4th early in this prep of the last 2 runs. Has been really good in the Quinella position. So I think this horse, Straight Tough, can run well again, so he goes in for second. In for third, number 11, Wild Gem, who, like I mentioned, I'm not too sure why this horse is paying $26. Obviously, we'll be wanting a bit more rain. It's 4 starts on a heavy track for 4 wins, so if we can get that little bit more rain, you could probably take a bit more confidence with it, and I think we could potentially see it firm a little bit. But I think $26 in general is just over the odds. Even if we get that soft track, it's a horse who has won on a soft before, and it's been a really good form. Obviously, last 2 starts, it obviously won at Sandown, the Hillside track, being Hayington Station. Don't think it's the strongest form, but like I've said with Falls, I do think that there's a couple of horses that could show a bit of improvement out of that. Wild Gem is one of them, who's just in good form, and prior to that finished second, Rolling Moss as well. So it's also in decent form at the moment, Wild Gem, and just wouldn't surprise me at $26, a last start winner. It's just a bit over the odds for me, so it goes in for third. Then in for fourth, number 1, Sonnery, who's always consistent, always up on the pace. So I think that's going to be well suited at Caulfield tomorrow. Obviously, the rail being out 12 metres, I think he can run a good race. Be right up on speed. Second last time out to Morrissey, reads pretty well. I think that form is going to be quite good. Prior to that, was in look, really, it's only missed a Quinella placing once from its last 6 starts. So it's a horse that you really, as an each way player, you can really take a bit of confidence on now. So like I said, this race, plenty of value, and I think we can, if we can find something here at an each way price, we'll be getting a good return. So look, I've got number 12 Falls on top for me, ahead of number 17 Street Tough that gets the run. In the third, I've got number 11 Wild Gem, and in for fourth, number 1 Sonnery. Now, other chances in the race, I do think that Strategic Phil can run well, as a horse that has been running pretty well so far as preparation. And a second last time at Moonee Valley behind Holbein, reads pretty well, so I think it can run a good race. Has never won on a soft track, which is quite interesting. It's had 7 starts for 0 wins and the 4 placings, but it's a horse who is relatively consistent and loves running here. Doesn't mind running here at Caulfield, and especially this type of distance range. So it can run a good race at the $10. Wouldn't surprise me if it comes out, runs well. The other horse, Mr. Tipler, was really good winning last start at Sandown. I was really impressed with that performance. Was honoured on that occasion. That was on a heavy track. So I think this horse, similarly to a couple others in this race, be hoping for a bit more rain to come before Saturday. It's got a good chance. And the other horse I do think can't be forgotten about. If Tavi Dance gets in, this horse got a lot of ability. And the first start, third at Sandown, the Lakeside track behind Meninga, was really good at made good late ground late. So I think that this horse could run a good race if it gets in as well. Moving on to race number 4 on the program now. We've got the Ned's Same Race Multi Handicap over the 1400 metres. And look at the speed map here, just the 10 of them to go around in this race. So I'd say Reflectivity will find the top. Travis, my friend, who it's been interesting, this horse been dropping back in the field as for its last couple of races. So I'd like to see Dean Newton be nice and positive out the gates, out of barrier number 2. Try and roll him forward and get up towards the pace. Morrissey, I think, will be up there as well. And potentially Mr. Yo might be able to push up off that inside barrier to try and keep Travis, my friend, from having that box seat run on the fence. But Look, I have landed with number 5 Morrissey here. I just thought that was a really impressive win last start. Obviously beat Sonnery, who I expect to run well again in the race prior to this, and we'll get a good guide on the form with that. Prior to that, obviously that last start win, it was finished second to Ashlaw. I think that form's quite stands up quite good. Again, like I said earlier, we'll get a bit of a guide on that Ashlaw form line out of Moonee Valley, see how it ties up. So I think Morrissey, we can get a bit of a clearer understanding on how good its chances will be after race number 3 on the program when it's been run on 1. And I think this horse can run well though, be up on the pace. I think it could just be able to roll along, and it's a horse that seems to be hitting a bit of form now, and doesn't mind a wet track, doesn't mind running here at Caulfield. So I think there's plenty of ticks to suggest it'll run a good race again. So I've got it on top. And number 9, Travis, my friend, who I think will improve. It's a horse who obviously loves a wet track, has finished 5th behind Morrissey and Sonnery last time out. But I just, like I said, I just hope that Yendall rolls forward on this horse, just tries to get it up towards the speed, right in behind them. And potentially, if he's able to be positive, I think you can see this horse being right in the finish. So $11 and 3.30 the place is a really good price to take. So it goes in for second. In for third, number 6, Kingsbrook, who's been ever consistent recently, and I think he'll run a good race again. The second last time out of Flemington, my Great Duchess, reads pretty well. Obviously, he brings in different type of form lines here. A couple of these have been intertwined with Kingsbrook, but brings in something different. And I think Will Price at the 3 kilo claim brings this horse right down the bottom of the weight. So I think it'll be running a really nice race. So it goes in for third, although it is a handicap. So I don't know why it says you'll get the 3 kilo claim. Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So from what I read here, yeah, Will Price will get the 3 kilo claim. So yeah, brings this horse right down the bottom of the weights. I think get a good run out of barrier number 6 and be right up towards the lead. I think it'll be probably sitting maybe just 2 pairs back potentially. The way that I see the speed map playing out, it could even potentially land in behind the lead if Will Price is positive enough with the horse and could be up towards the pace. And I think he'll be running a good race as well is running quite consistently for Peter Moody. So it goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I want to make a bit of a shout for number 3, Reflectivity, who isn't the best first up performer, but is a horse that obviously has a bit of talent and look probably is preferring to be on top of the ground. So the track conditions don't necessarily suit, but I think this horse at its best is better than these, and that's why I just want to make a mention of it. I don't think I could back it as a winning chance, but I definitely think it could potentially finish top 3. So I've got it in for fourth, though, in my numbers here. The other horse that I do think has a bit of a chance is number 4, Super Hard. Obviously racing isn't in the best of form at the moment, but we do know that this horse does have ability on his day, and if he sort of comes out to a distance range now where he's a lot better. He's good at the 1400 meters, so he's obviously been around those sprint distances over these 3 starts. His preparation, he gets out the 1400, could potentially see a bit of improvement out of him. And I look, Kaspersky's an interesting runner. It's horse formerly with Michelle Payne, obviously coming across from Great Britain, and has a really good first up record. 7 starts with 5 wins first up. Has form on a wet track as well. So with Lindsay Smith taking the reins, who could potentially see this horse run a bolt of a race at $27. So keep an eye out for it as well. I have got number 5 Morrissey on top though for me. In for second, number 9 Travis, my friend. In for third, number 6 Kingsbrook, and in for fourth, number 3 Reflectivity. With, like I said, that big watch on Kaspersky and Super Hard stepping out in distance as well. Moving on to race number 5 on the program now. It's the 1400 metre Ned's Price Boost Handicap. Look at the speed map here in this race. So I'd suggest that Mystery Shot and Terrace House will both try and get across some outside barriers from barriers number 9 and 10. Lealian, he's the real deal though. I don't think they'll give it up early. They'll make those outside horses work a bit. And then they'll probably settle in behind them eventually. So I'd suggest that Terrace House and Mystery Shot will have enough to get across the field. Scorpius will probably roll forward as well. Probably potentially try and follow those leaders and to be able to find a spot not far behind them. But look, for me, I'm very keen to play a horse in this race that, for me, is massively over the odds. And in fact, it is the outside, the third outside of the field, and it's number 5, Leali. I think this horse is well over the odds. This finished 4th last night off a bit of a freshen up behind Felicia and Brazen Song. I think, and that run for me was really impressive. It says 8.2 lengths, but they weren't really making a lot of ground there. Felicia and Brazen Song really paired off and broke away from the field, especially Felicia. It put about 3 or 4 lengths on them on that occasion. I think Leali can bounce back and run well here. It comes out from 1200 up to 14, which is going to be much more suited to it. Second up has had a win second up before. Has form on a wet track. And I just think that this horse can run well. I think $21 just massively over the odds about it in a pretty winnable race for me. I think it's a little bit weaker than the one that it faced last time out. So it goes on top for me. Ahead of number 4, Wicklow Town, is just in terrific form, and Damien Oliver jumps in the saddle, and he's obviously a very good judge, so you've got to make a bit of note of that. $10 about it. Really good form on the soft track, as we've seen the last 3 starts. It's 1 or 3, winning. I mean, it's beaten some decent horses as well. Beat Diode last time out at Geelong. It beat Scorpius 2 starts prior to that at Mornington, who faces here again, and then Ian's Boy prior to that. And the form coming around it from horses that finished further back in the field behind Wicklow Town has been pretty good as well. So I think this horse will run a good race at the $10, and it goes in for second for me. Look, in for third, I have got number 6, Scorpius, because like I said, finished second to Wicklow Town a few starts back. I've got to make a mention of it. It was a really good third last time out behind Mystery Shot and Splendor on the grass. I like the way it hit the line and ran well there. Obviously gets a bit of a weight relief as well with what Will Price in the saddle. So it goes in for third. Then in for fourth, I've got number 1, Al Burke, who I think can also run well. I mean, the form around Al Burke is better than most of these, in my opinion. It finished fourth last time out in the Creswick Stakes behind Front Page and High Stranger. I thought that was a nice run. Prior to that, finished second behind Jolly Sailor. We know Jolly Sailor obviously going across the Hong Kong. Could have been anything. I think that was a good form race come out of. So he's got the... I definitely think he's got the claims here on some of the girls. But look, I think he can... sorry. Oh, my mistake. Sorry. No, yeah. So I think he's got some claims on some of the other girls in this race. Obviously, this being a mares and geldings and colts race. So, look, I think that he can run well enough, and he's got the form to suggest he'll run well. So he's got to go in the numbers at $5.50. He's in for fourth. Other horses I do think a chance. Look, no knock on Mystery Shot, obviously, because had 3 starts for 3 wins. So and 2 starts on a soft track for 2 wins, but just has that massive step up in weight now. It goes from 56.5 up to 61.5. So it's a 5 kilo jump. And some of the horses that have beaten that last start, including the likes of, if we have a look here, we got, Scorpius is just one, for example. I mean, you look at Scorpius, it's going to get a 6 kilo swing on Mystery Shot. So I could suggest that Scorpius will run a much better race than Mystery Shot based off that weight swing. So there's just one, for example. Obviously, Mystery Shot this time round will potentially find out. Will be found out a little bit. Has to navigate barrier number 10, so it's going to have to work to get up towards the pace. Although, like I said, I do think with the rail being out, being up towards the speed will be very favourable. So potentially this horse can run well and be right in the finish. And look, Terrace House, no knock on it as well. Obviously, has been running real well to start its career. It's had 3 starts for 2 wins and a placing, and all on soft surfaces. So you could suggest this horse will run a good race as well. I haven't got it in my top 4, but I think it could also run well, especially being up on the pace. So, recapping my numbers for race number 5. Look, very open race, and that's why I've gone with a bit of value here. I think number 5, Liali, can improve second up here, so it goes on top. Even number 4, Wicklow Town for second. In for third, I've got number 6, Scorpius, and in for fourth, number 1, Al Burke. Moving on to race number 6 now. It's a 2,000 metre Ned's handicap over the 2,000 metres. Look at the speed map here. I'd suggest that that Lord Borazon thought of that, and Rebel Racer will probably roll up towards the pace. So I'd suggest that they'll be the ones that will lead the way, with the likes of Trench Warfare and Gold Ollie probably not too far behind them. They'll be the ones towards the pace as well. Be interested what Glenda Flora does. This horse obviously went back in its last start at Sandown. We have seen her roll forward before as well. So be interested to see what Greg Williams does from that barrier there. And it's been really well backed, Charlie Glenda Flora. I'm not surprised either since the scratching of Right You Are. And since Right You Are's come out, I've just got to land with Granda Flora. I think this horse has just been in terrific form. Is going to really relish the step up 2,000 metres. It's bred to get, obviously being side by Savabeel and out of a New Zealand mare. I think this horse will get up the distance nicely. The way it's been hitting the line its last couple of starts, it just keeps savaging the line, and that's over the 600 metres. I think 2,000 will be no issue for it. And it's the one to beat here for me. Obviously, a really excellent soft track form. And its form out of its last few starts have been really good as well. I mean, besides its last start win at Sandown Lakes, where it beat Miss O'Malley, that was a terrific performance. To get the chance to go back and look at it, you'll see why I'm so keen to back it, because it was sort of towards the back of the field. They were running on that day at Sandown the Lakeside track, but this horse definitely got levelled up with / headed by Miss O'Malley on the outside towards the top of the straight. and she just found another gear, and she just kept fighting to the line. And she's a horse that just wants to win, and that's a real big trait in a horse. So I think this horse can run really well here, stepping out to 2,000 metres and up in grade. But the start prior that beat Quantum Mechanic, and a lot of the form coming out of the race behind her has been quite strong. So I think I'm willing to be with her again, even at the 240. Probably a little bit skinny. I was keen to be on her before Right You Are came out, but now that she's Right You Are's come out, the main danger, I think Grandiflora can still win. I think 240's an okay price, so I'm going to play it. It goes on top for me. Head of number one, Thought of That, who be rolling along in the pace, and I'm hoping that Craig's quite positive on Grandiflora and gets towards the pace, because don't want to leave Thought of That out the front to roll on its own, because he can give a good kick on his day, and he could potentially boot away and get it like he almost did last start when he was just chased down by Heavily Emperor. So I think he'll run well. He goes in for second. In for third, number 9, Trench Warfare. I'm really looking forward to stepping out in distance here. This horse got a stack of ability, finished second behind Desert Realm last start. On debut was a really impressive performance on a soft track. So this horse does get through the soft conditions nicely. He failed on a heavy, which was behind some of the horses called Brilliant Concept, who obviously has come out and been a real good heavy track horse over these winter months, and Persan, who we've seen dominate since that performance of Ballarat. So no real problems of being in that type of form there, and obviously comes onto a softer track, which be much better for him, and I think he'll really relish to step out 2,000 metres. We can see him run a good race at the $20, so he goes in for third. Then in fourth, number 6, Turidin, who has just lost a little bit of its form its last couple of starts. Obviously, a 6th last out behind Walking, Flying, and Dance Ready. Now, Walking, Flying came out last week at Flemington and won really well again, so really good form line race to come out of, and prior to that was for 5th behind Gamekeeper and Blue Ocean in the 2,000 metre race at Flemington. I think that was a good performance. So Turidin, we know, can get the distance. $11 a good price about it as well. But look, I do think the top two in the market are the ones to beat here, and the top two on the page as well. It's Grandiflora on top for me, ahead of number 1, Thought of That, and for second. In for third, number 9, Trench Warfare, I think represents a lot of value. And then in for fourth, number 6, Turidin. Moving on to race number 7 on the program now. It is the Sir John Monash Stakes, Group 3 level, the feature race of the day of the 1,100 metres. Just a short 9-horse field to go around here in this one, and I look at the speed map. A couple of these I think will try and roll towards the pace. Tavasan, Jungle Edge, Ashwell from the outside barrier, very tricky one for him to try and navigate. He'll be trying to get around them, and potentially he might have to sit in behind them. In fact, Snitzcraft will be up towards the pace as well. And I'd say I'm someone will sit just not far off him now. I'm really hoping that Jamie Carr's quite positive on Grey Shadow here out of barrier number 1, because if she is, I think this horse could be hard to beat here. I'm coming back from runs up at Doomben and Eagle Farm, where didn't really perform, but look, the form races have been really good, especially the 1-2 starts back where it finished by Sculpini, Boomtown Last, been a lot of winners, subsequent winners out of that race, and even last start really with Bandipur and in good time. It probably doesn't read as good as the likes of Jungle Edge, but I think that she comes back obviously to a track that she loves. She's had 8 starts here at Caulfield for 4 wins and a placing. She's had 8 starts at the distance for 5 wins and a placing, and the track and distance 5 starts for 4 wins. So she's really good here at Caulfield. Really pretty good on a wet track. She's had good form here as well, and over this distance she's really good as well. And I think she can improve coming back to her favourite track here. And like I said, if Jamie Carr's just positive enough out of the barriers, I think she can roll forward, be up to in behind the speed, and potentially be able to get that run through and finish over the top of them. So she goes on top for me at the $10. I think she's very good value. Head of number 1, Jungle Ledger for second, who on a wet track you've always got to be confident to back him. He's obviously $450 at the moment. I think that's a great price about him. He finished a real good 5th last time behind Classic Legend, who I've got as one of the favourites for the Everest. So definitely one of the best sprinters going around the country at the moment, Classic Legend. So no shame in finishing behind him. And obviously second in that race was Southern Lad, who hasn't really gone on with it since he's obviously the notorious second place getter. And prior to that, obviously Jungle Edge went round in the Stradbroke and in the Goodwood, fit behind Trekking and Geetray. He finished last on that occasion, but prior to that beat Behemoth as well. So he's a bit of hot and cold. He's hard to catch sometimes, but I think Jungle Edge can run well on this wet track, potentially a leader bias track that we could see at Caulfield, which we often do see when the rail's out so fast. So if that's the case, Jungle Edge will be running a good race. I'm sure he'll shorten, especially if he gets to see the track pattern on the day favouring the leaders. So keep an eye out for that. He goes for second. In for third, number 2, Viridine, who's going to need to produce a really good performance. But if he was very good last start at Randwick. Prior to that, he was very good behind Cacique Legend. He obviously beat Jungle Edge home. So 260, look, probably a bit short for me. I don't suggest playing that, but I do think he'll run a good race. So he goes over third. Then in for fourth, number 6, I'm someone who I really do think is well over the odds at the 650. Is obviously tightened up a little bit now. It was $8 last night. This horse who is really well performed on a wet track, so 11 starts on a soft track for 5 wins and 3 placings. Was pretty good last time out, finishing 5th behind Great Again, Lord Von Coster at Flemington. I think that was a good enough run there. Just sort of hit the line nicely, get the 7-day back up here into this. Definitely well within a chance for Paul Prushkin and Declan Bates in the saddle. But look, I'm going to go with Grey Shadow here, coming back to her favourite track. I think she can improve, being right at the bottom of the weights as well. I think she can run a good race at the $10, and I'm just hoping that Jamie Carr's positive out of barrier number 1 and puts her in the race. So she goes on top for me, ahead of number 1, Jungle Edge, for second. And for third, number 2, Viridine. And then for fourth, number 6, I Am Someone. Moving on to race number 8 now. It's the Ned's Money Back odds handicap over the 1100 metres. Look at the speed map here for this one. I'd suggest that there'll be quite a bit of pace here. Finesse Test off the inside barrel, get forward. Flow Star, Beatrix, Marine Bell, High Risk, Kingstar Amber, Moscon, No Frontiers from barrier number 12, Elderflower from barrier number 14, and Big Boys Girl from the outside barrier number 17. They'll all look to roll forward, so it'll be real genuine tempo in the race. If there's any race on the day, even if the track pattern's playing towards the leaders, I think this will be the one where we could potentially see a back marker. And look, I'm going to land with Chassis here. I'm not sure where it's going to land in the run. I'm hoping Ollie just follows all that speed around him and gets himself sort of around that midfield and comes off the hot tempo and finishes over the top of him. So I'm not sure if they'll be able to come right from the very back. We did see it last time we were at Caulfield 2 weeks ago. Obviously, there was a winner there on that occasion from the back. It was... yeah, so the name just escapes me, but I believe it was Lucifer's Reward. It was one of Brendan McCarthy's horses. So, yeah, so that horse on that day did come from the back and finish over the top from off the hot tempo. So, gives me a little bit of confidence to take Chassis, who I think's got a lot of ability. She was really good last preparation. She won a real good race at Flemington, and then she went and finished 5th at Caulfield behind the likes of Le 10 and Lady Lapino as a 2-year-old. Then went and finished behind Rubasaki and pretty brazen. So look, she's got some very good form, and she comes into this now as a 3-year-old, and she I think she can run well first up. She's proven first up. She's proven on a soft track. Damien Oliver in the saddle. Her jump out stability have been quite good. I think she'll run a good race at the $13. So she goes on top for me. Head number 7, Elderflower, who doesn't know how to run a bad race. This horse has never missed a placing so far in its 5 races in its career. So $11 about this horse is quite a nice price. It was beaten by Lucifer's Reward last start and Proper Rogue, and I think again it can run well enough here coming at Caulfield. Potentially, if it's favouring the leaders as well, it'll suit nicely in Elderflower's favour. We'll probably just have to navigate that barrier number 14. A lot of speed inside of him, so I'm sure he'll probably want to tuck in and not take on that speed battle. So interested to see what he can do there. Now, Finesse Test is the one who I also think is a bit over the odds off that barrier number 1. Really is going to have it be a big advantage in a race, especially with so many of them wanting to be up towards the pace. Second last night behind Beatrix, who meets here again, but meets a little bit better at the weights. Actually, in fact, they're on level weights again, but I think just the better barrier here, we'll see it run a good race, and she's second up now, so she'll improve off that first up performance, and I think she can get the better of Beatrix this time around. So she goes in for third, and then number 4th, in for fourth, day number 1, Sizzle Fly, has the excellent first up record of 3 starts for 3 wins. And like I said, they really do overdo it. We could potentially see her fly down the outside, finish over the top of them. She's proven on a wet track as well. Look, I'm not willing to jump into it at the 480 just because I am concerned about the way the track might play on Saturday. But look, she obviously has a very good first up, fresh record. She can run a good race as well. But recap the numbers for me. Look, I am pretty keen on number 8, Chassis. I think she's got a lot of ability, and I'm keen to see her first up and how she performs. In for second, number 7, Elderflower. In for third, number 11, Finesse Test. And in for fourth, number 1, Sizzle Fly. Moving on to the final race of the program now. Race number 9, 700 metre Ned's Toolbox, benchmark 84. Nice big field here for this race as well to conclude the program. Look at the speed map for this one. I'd suggest that there'll be quite a lot of pace in this as well. Emperor Selassie, he excels, will be right up there. Francis Boy, the South Australian visitor, will be up towards the pace. Surreal Image, Peso, and Heavenly Emperor will all be up towards the pace as well. Now, look, I am keen to go with the South Australian here for with Teo Nugent in the saddle. Francis Boy has just been in great form the last couple of starts Was won the last 2 starts at Moorfield, leading all the way and winning quite easily as well. So I think this horse can run well enough here again, and especially like I said, if the track plays towards the leaders on the day, this horse will be right in the finish. So if it goes on top, ahead of number 6, Heavily Emperor, who really has been promising to win a race again, and it has done so. Won really nicely last time out, but any thought of that? We'll get a bit of an idea into that form line. Obviously, thought of that going around early in the program. So we'll see how that plays out with the Heavenly Emperor's chances. But barrier number 15 is real tricky. If he drew a better barrier, I would be very keen on him. But from out there, he's going to have to get a really nice ride from Mitch Aiken to get into a good spot and be up towards the pace. So he goes in for second. In for third, who I can also think can run a good race, is a horse that's really well at the odds. It's the outside of the field. Second outside of the field at 81 to 1. It is Piso for Richard Cully and Melissa Julius in the saddle now. It has got barrier 16, so it's very similarly to Heavily Emperor. It's going to have to roll across and get into a decent spot. I suggest that Melissa Julius will just go right out to try and find the pace. It's a horse that doesn't usually perform first up, but it has really good form for New Zealand, and it's going to be looking for further. I'd suggest 2,000 metres is going to be more its type of distance, but finished run up to Melody Bell in a Group 1. So, I mean, on his day, he could run a good race. And so, like I said, 81 to 1 about him isn't the worst, to be honest. You could do a lot worse, and I think that he could potentially be in the finish. He might run a cheeky race, especially if the track plays to be on pace throughout the day. So keep an eye on that. I think he could be a big roughie for the day. So he goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I've got number 10, Declares War, who's just knocking on the door now. Has been running a couple of good races in a row. Second last time, 2 starts back to Kiss and Cry, reads well. And the third last time out in the Cassidy Cup, although Patch Adams didn't go on with it on Wednesday at Sandown. Still think that was a good enough run by Declares War. Suggests he run well enough here. Other chance in the race, I think Triple Strip has a good chance in this race here. Second up, form's really good. 3 starts for a win and 2 placings. I thought it was good for fourth, first up behind Great Touch, Jessica Kingsbrook. Similarly, Kingsbrook going around early in the program will get a bit of a guide into that form line behind for Triple Stripe. I think it can run well. It goes not my top 4, just because I thought there was a couple of others at value who I wanted to put in, but definitely has a chance. The other one who I think has got a really good chance in the race is Dogmatic. Comes in this second up, has won here at Caulfield before and gets out to the more ideal distance range of 700 metres, which I think we'll see a sharp improvement out of Dogmatic. But look, I'm pretty keen to play the South Australian Visitor, number 5, Francis Boy. Goes on top here for me, ahead of number 6, Heavily Emperor, who, like I said, be very keen if it drew a better gate. Number 1, Peace-Side, as I said, don't think it's the worst 81 to 1 shot, so it goes into third. And then in for fourth, I've got number... Sorry, I've lost my fourth number there. Hang on. Oh, number 10, Declares War, goes in for fourth. Recapping the best bets of the program for me. Look, I'm pretty keen on a race number 4, number 5. Morrissey is one of my best bets of the program. Just think it'll be able to roll up on the pace and do exactly what it did last time out at Caulfield and lead all the way and win again. So Morrissey goes on top as one of my best bets in race number 4, number 5. And the other one that I really do like is in race number 6, number 3, Grand Afora. Getting a little bit short now, but still at a price where I think she's very backable at the $2.40. So she goes in as my other best bet of the program. My best value bets are looking into race number 3. And I've got to give a chance number 12 Falls at $16. I think it was well over the odds about it. A good second up performer on a wet track. I think we could see a bit of improvement coming back from the heavy last start onto a soft track on Saturday. So it's one of my best value bets of the day. Race number 3, number 12 Falls. And the other one that I'm really keen on is in the Sir John Monash, number 9 Grey Shadow. I think it's a really good each way price of the $10. So it's my other best value plays of the program. So that's the Caulfield program tomorrow, Sir John Monash Stakes Day. Hopefully you enjoy it tomorrow. Hopefully find plenty of winners. As always, keep your comments down below. Like the video, I'd really appreciate that. And subscribe if you're new. Again, I'd appreciate that as well. Go and check out my social media pages, c.lane_racing tips on Instagram and c.lane, then a space racing tips on Facebook. Both of those pages I post all these tips as well as quaddie selections. Look, I might try and incorporate some of my quaddies into the back ends of these videos. Usually I like to wait till race day though, because you can get a bit of a guide with all the scratchings in the races. So I'll usually like to wait for Saturdays. But I also post tips across multiple countries, multiple days. I post pretty much every day tips for each race day on the both in Victoria and New South Wales. So go and check those social media pages out, and also stay tuned for my Rosehill video, which will be coming up after this. So thank you for tuning in, really appreciate it, and I'll see you very soon, and hopefully you find plenty of winners on the weekend.